300 years ago, a letter was written. One scientist, writing to another. The man holding the pen was perhaps the greatest mind of his age. A man who had single-handedly rewritten how human beings understood gravity, light, motion, and time. A man whose work would stand unchallenged for 2 centuries. He was not a man who gave compliments easily. He was not a man who used words carelessly. And in this letter, describing the mind of a colleague, he chose one word, one single word for a quality of intelligence so rare, so extraordinary, so far beyond very smart, that 300 years later, that word still has no equal. It exists in English. It is waiting for you. And by the end of this episode, it belongs to you. 5 words, one from a 300-year-old letter, one that describes intelligence so deep it frightens people, one so precise it makes every other word for smart feel like a rough sketch of the real thing. After this episode, very smart will never feel like enough again. Let me ask you something. Think of the most intelligent person you have ever known. Not famous, not historical. Someone real, someone you have sat across from, talked with, watched, think in real time. Maybe it was a teacher who could take the most tangled, impossible idea and lay it out so cleanly that understanding arrived like a light turning on. Maybe it was a colleague who saw the solution to a problem before anyone else had finished understanding the problem. Maybe it was someone you loved who read people, read rooms, read situations with an accuracy that felt almost unfair. Who knew things they had no conventional reason to know? Now, was that person very smart? Of course not. Very smart is what you say about someone who got a good grade, who answered a question quickly, who remembered a fact at the right moment. Very smart is intelligence as a performance, intelligence as a test result, intelligence as something you either have or you don't, measured and labeled and filed away. But real intelligence, the kind that stops you, that changes how you think, that makes you feel the edges of your own mind in comparison. Real intelligence is nothing like that. Real intelligence has texture. It has different shapes, different depths, different qualities. There is the intelligence that cuts like a blade, the intelligence that builds like an architect, the intelligence that sees like no one else sees. And English, rich, strange, historically voracious English, has a word for each one. Very smart covers none of them. Let me give you the words that do. Every word. Out loud. Intelligence deserves precision. Word 1, brilliant. She is absolutely brilliant. Start here. Your most natural, most immediate replacement. But brilliant is not a simple word. It is not just very smart, with better clothes on. Brilliant comes from the French briller, to shine. And before it ever described a mind, it described light. The particular quality of light that bounces off a cut diamond. Sharp, multi-directional, almost aggressive in its clarity. A brilliant mind does exactly that. It doesn't absorb ideas, it refracts them, catches them at unexpected angles, sends them back into the room changed, sharpened, more visible than before. The solution she proposed was brilliant. So obvious in retrospect that no one could believe they'd missed it. He's a brilliant teacher. He makes you feel like understanding is inevitable. It's a brilliant book, not because it gives you answers, but because it gives you better questions. That last sentence, better questions, because brilliant intelligence is not just about answers, it is about the quality of what it asks. Use brilliant for minds that illuminate, that send light in directions you weren't looking. Word 2, sharp. She has an incredibly sharp mind. He's sharp. Nothing gets past him. Now we move from light to edge. Sharp is intelligence as a cutting instrument. Precise. Fast. The ability to go directly to the point of something. Through all the noise, all the distraction, all the irrelevance. and find exactly what matters. Sharp minds don't wander. They don't accumulate. They select. They edit in real time. They arrive at the answer before others have finished assembling the question. Don't be fooled by how quietly she sits in meetings. She's sharp. She's already seen where this is going. The interviewer was sharp. He caught the inconsistency in the third answer and didn't let it go. Even at 90, his mind was sharp. Every word chosen. Nothing wasted. That last sentence. Even at 90. Because sharpness is not youth. It is not speed for its own sake. It is the quality of a mind that has learned to cut cleanly, to find the line and follow it, regardless of everything else. Use sharp when intelligence is precise, when it moves fast and true and wastes nothing. Word 3, astute. She is remarkably astute. That was an astute observation. Now we go deeper, because astute is not just intelligence. It is intelligence applied. It is the specific quality of seeing what others miss, of reading situations, reading people, reading the space between words and actions, and arriving at a truth that wasn't announced. From the Latin astutus, cunning, crafty, the intelligence of the fox rather than the scholar. Not book intelligence, not test intelligence, the intelligence that operates in the real world, among real people, in real situations that don't come with instructions. She was astute enough to realize that what he said and what he meant were two completely different things. It was an astute business decision. Most people didn't understand why until 3 years later. He was astute about people. He could tell within minutes exactly who someone was. That last sentence, within minutes, because astute intelligence doesn't need time to accumulate evidence. It processes signals that other minds don't even register as signals. Use astute for intelligence that sees clearly in the world, not just in theory, but in the complicated, ambiguous human reality of things. Word 4, the one that frightens people, incisive. She has an incisive mind. His analysis was incisive. There is a type of intelligence that makes people uncomfortable, not because it is cruel, not because it is arrogant, but because it cuts through the things that other people have agreed, quietly and collectively, not to examine too closely. The comfortable assumptions, the convenient fictions, the explanations everyone has accepted, because questioning them would require too much from everyone involved. Incisive intelligence cuts those open, from the Latin incidere, to cut into, the same root as incision, a surgical cut. Deliberate, precise, going exactly as deep as necessary and no deeper. Her questions were incisive, polite, even gentle, but they went straight to what no one else wanted to name. The report was incisive in a way that made several people in the room visibly uncomfortable. He had an incisive way of thinking that could make meetings either very productive or very tense, depending on whether people wanted the truth. That last sentence, depending on whether people wanted the truth. Because incisive intelligence does not protect you from what it finds. It does not soften the cut. It goes where the thinking leads, and trusts you to handle what's there. This is why it sometimes frightens people. Not the intelligence itself, but the willingness to follow it all the way. Use incisive for minds that cut cleanly through what others leave deliberately blurred. Word 5. The word from the letter ingenious. The solution was ingenious. She has an ingenious mind. Here it is. The word from the 300-year-old letter. The word that Isaac Newton chose when he needed to describe the quality of mind belonging to his contemporary, the mathematician Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. Two men who separately and simultaneously invented calculus. Two of the most formidable intellects in the history of human thought. And Newton, writing privately, reached for this word, ingenious. From the Latin ingenium, the innate quality of mind a person is born with. Natural talent at its highest, purest expression. The intelligence that does not feel acquired or constructed. The intelligence that seems to arrive fully formed, as though the mind was simply made this way. But ingenious is more specific even than that. Ingenious is the intelligence of invention, of solutions, of finding a way through, or around, or under, or straight through the middle of problems that have stopped everyone else. The ingenious mind does not accept that something cannot be done. It accepts only that it has not yet found how. The design was ingenious. It solved 3 problems simultaneously that no one had previously thought to connect. She found an ingenious workaround that saved the entire project. There is something almost playful about an ingenious mind. It treats impossible problems like puzzles rather than walls. That last sentence, puzzles rather than walls, that is the essence of ingenious. The refusal to be stopped. The almost cheerful confidence that somewhere in the problem is a door, and the conviction that finding it is not a matter of whether, only when. Newton saw this in Leibniz, the mind that found the door where others saw only wall. 300 years later, the word still carries that recognition, that specific, rare acknowledgement from one great mind to another, and now it is yours. Use it carefully, use it honestly, use it only when you mean it, because when you do, the person you are describing will feel the full weight of 300 years of meaning land on them. That is a gift worth giving. Every episode, a story. Today, the story is a room, a single room, a problem on a table, 5 people around it. The problem is real, the stakes are real, and no one so far has solved it. The first person speaks. They have understood the problem faster than anyone expected. Their analysis is immediate, clear, multi-directional, light going everywhere at once. Brilliant. The room leans in. The second person says very little, but what they say goes directly, without preamble, without detour, to the single weakest point in every argument that has come before. Sharp. One cut. Clean through. The third person says something that surprises everyone. Not about the problem itself, about the people involved, about what is really happening underneath the surface of the situation, about the human reality that the official version of the problem has been carefully avoiding. Astute, seeing what wasn't said. The fourth person asks a question, just a question. But it is the kind of question that opens a room rather than closing one. The kind that makes 3 other people suddenly uncomfortable because it names the thing they had all agreed not to name. Incisive. The surgical cut. And then the 5th person, who has been quiet the longest, speaks. They have found a solution, not a compromise, not a workaround, a solution, elegant, unexpected, so precisely fitted to the problem that it seems, in retrospect, like it was always there, waiting for the right mind to find it. Ingenious, the door where everyone else saw wall. Brilliant, sharp, astute, incisive, ingenious. 5 people, 5 qualities of intelligence, 1 problem. Solve. Your challenge this week. Think of someone genuinely intelligent in your life. A teacher, a colleague, a parent, a friend. Someone whose mind has stopped you at least once, made you feel the quality of their thinking in a way you haven't forgotten. Write 1 sentence describing what makes them remarkable, using one of today's 5 words. Not a celebrity, not a historical figure. Someone real, Someone yours. I read every comment. I reply to everyone, and I will tell you honestly, the comments on this video are going to be something beautiful, because the people who watch this series are themselves brilliant, sharp, astute, incisive, and occasionally genuinely ingenious. Come and prove it. Today you learned 5 words that replace very smart and actually describe the different shapes that extraordinary intelligence takes. Brilliant, light from every angle, the mind that refracts, sharp, fast, precise, nothing wasted, straight to the point, astute, sees what others miss, reads the real world, not just the textbook, incisive, cuts through, names the unnamed, follows thinking all the way, ingenious, Newton's word, the mind that finds the door where everyone else sees wall. Next episode, very tired. I'm joking. Next episode, very boring. And I need to warn you now, one of the words for boring is itself the opposite of boring. It is one of the most colorful, most alive, most unexpectedly joyful words in the English language, which is exactly the right word for exactly the wrong experience. Language contains multitudes. I'll see you in the next one. If this series has made you feel that English is not just a language you are learning, but a world you are entering, subscribe. Because every week we go one door deeper, and the doors keep getting more interesting. I'll see you in the next one.